I never thought a single summer could rewrite everything I believed about love. But then again, I never thought I'd meet her, right here, in this sleepy seaside town where time moved slower, and every sunset looked like a promise the sky was trying to keep. My name's Ethan Ward. 3 months ago, I left the chaos of the city, deadlines, subway noise, the constant rush, for one reason: silence. I'd burned out. My job in advertising had squeezed every spark of joy out of me. So I rented a small cottage near Crescent Bay, a coastal town so small that even Google Maps didn't bother to label the cafes properly. At first, I didn't plan on talking to anyone. Just the sea, my sketchbook, and my old camera. But life, especially by the ocean, has a way of washing unexpected people onto your shore. It was my third evening there. The wind smelled of salt and coffee. I was walking down the pier, trying to capture the reflection of the sunset in the waves, when I heard laughter, bright, fearless, like a melody that didn't care who listened. She was standing by a food truck named Marina's Magic Ice Creams. Hair caught in the sea breeze, holding 2 cones, one for herself, one melting sadly in her other hand. She caught me watching, and instead of pretending not to notice, she smiled. Her. You look like you're trying too hard to photograph the sun. Want to try something sweeter? Me. Depends. Is that an offer or a metaphor? Her, maybe both. She handed me the second cone before I could answer. Chocolate and sea salt caramel. My weakness. That's how I met Lena Carter. The girl whose laughter could outshine the entire horizon. A week later, we found ourselves sheltering under the same wooden canopy as a summer drizzle painted ripples across the ocean. She looked at the rain like it was a performance made just for her. Her. You ever notice how raindrops look like tiny comets when they hit the water? Me? Can't say I have. I'm too busy trying not to get my camera wet. She laughed, the sound bubbling up like champagne. Then she leaned closer, so close that I could smell the vanilla from her ice cream earlier that day, and whispered, Her. You should try watching instead of capturing. Some moments aren't meant to be framed, they're meant to be felt. That line would stick with me for weeks. The next few days blurred into a montage, surf lessons that turned into splash wars, long walks through the pier lights at night, conversations about everything and nothing. Lena had this way of turning ordinary things into magic. She'd talk about the color of waves like a poet, or the silence before sunrise as if it were a secret between her and the sea. And I started seeing myself smiling in photos again. One evening, she invited me to join a local bonfire on the beach. A handful of locals, guitars, roasted marshmallows. It felt like something out of a postcard. At one point, she grabbed my hand. No warning, just fingers sliding into mine, warm and deliberate. Her. You always look like you're waiting for permission to enjoy things. Me, half smiling, and you always act like the world's giving you free tickets. Her. Maybe it is. Maybe you just forgot where yours are. That night, I realized something dangerous. I didn't just like her. I was falling, hard and fast, like a wave that didn't know how to stop before crashing. But every good story has its storm. And mine started the day I found out Lena wasn't just a local girl who loved the sea. She was leaving in 2 weeks. She'd been accepted into an art program overseas, a dream she'd been chasing for years. She hadn't told anyone, not even her family yet. And when she told me, her voice trembled. Not with guilt, but with fear that I'd stopped looking at her the same way. Her. I didn't mean for this to happen, Ethan. You were supposed to be a nice summer story. A postcard memory. But now it feels bigger. Me. So what happens when summer ends? She didn't answer. She just looked at the horizon, where the ocean swallowed the sun, and whispered, Maybe we don't need an ending yet. Those next 2 weeks became something else entirely. Every sunrise felt borrowed. Every laugh, every shared glance, every silly joke. We lived like we were trying to stretch time itself. We'd wake up early just to walk barefoot on the sand, coffee in hand. We'd talk about dreams, fears, and the strange comfort of being understood. She painted. I wrote. We existed in a world that felt too perfect to last. But deep down, the ticking clock was always there, whispering reminders that our little paradise had an expiration date. The night before she was supposed to leave, we went to the lighthouse, The same spot where we'd first talked about the rain. The wind was stronger, the waves restless, as if the ocean itself knew she was leaving. Her. Promise me something. Me. Anything. Her. Don't freeze this moment in a picture. Keep it alive here. She placed her hand over my heart. I wanted to tell her I loved her, that she'd turned my quiet exile into something worth remembering. But words felt too small. So I kissed her forehead instead, soft, careful, like a secret. She smiled through her tears. And for a heartbeat, I believed maybe love could outswim distance. The morning she left, Crescent Bay looked quieter than usual. Even the waves seemed to move slower, as if they were trying to stall her departure. I watched her pack the last of her canvases into the back of a small silver car. Every color she'd painted, the blues, the pinks, the sunset golds, they all felt like pieces of us. When she finally turned to me, she was smiling that same brave smile she'd worn the night before. Her. I'll send postcards. Me. And I'll keep waiting by the mailbox. Or don't. Live. She leaned in, kissed my cheek, and whispered. Her. Thank you for reminding me what it feels like to be seen. Then she was gone. The taillights disappeared down the coast road, and with them went every plan I didn't know I'd made. Days turned into weeks. I tried to dive back into work, but Crescent Bay didn't feel the same without her. The cafe we used to haunt still played her favorite song on repeat. The pier still held echoes of her laughter. Every photograph I took looked beautiful but hollow. She'd been right. Some moments weren't meant to be captured. They were meant to be lived. Then one morning, a small envelope arrived. No return address, just a wax seal in the shape of a seashell. Inside was a postcard. On the front, an ocean painted in bright watercolors. On the back, in her messy handwriting. The sunsets here don't apologize half as well as Crescent Bay's. Keep your camera ready. You never know when I'll walk into the frame again. I laughed out loud for the first time in weeks. That laugh felt like oxygen. I started writing again. Stories, small essays about people who find love in fleeting moments. Every word felt lighter, freer, as if she'd untangled something in me. I didn't know if I'd ever see her again. But I knew she'd changed the way I looked at everything. Love, I realized, isn't always about holding on. Sometimes it's about being brave enough to let the other person chase their sunrise. A year passed. Crescent Bay greeted another summer. Tourists came, children built sandcastles, and the sea kept whispering the same endless lullaby. I had become something of a local now. People knew me as the guy with the camera. I'd started an exhibit featuring photographs of the town, each titled after a phrase Lena once said. One of them, Waves Remember Everything, won a regional art award. And that's when it happened. During the opening night of my little gallery show, I noticed someone standing near that photo. Back turned, familiar silhouette. Long hair catching the light like fire in a breeze. For a moment, I thought my mind was playing tricks again. But then she turned. Lena. She looked the same, just a little older, maybe a little surer of herself. Her eyes carried stories I hadn't read yet. Her smiling. I told you I'd walk into your frame again. I didn't move for a full second. My heart was too busy catching up. Me. You picked a good angle. Her. I always do. We both laughed. The kind of laugh that knows history, that forgives time. She told me she'd finished her art program early. That she'd been painting again, this time inspired by Crescent Bay, by us. She'd seen my photos online, recognized her own words in the titles, and booked the next bus back home. We walked out to the pier again, just like that first evening. The same wind, the same salt in the air, the same ridiculous ice cream truck parked at the corner. Her. You still take pictures of sunsets? Me. Only when I'm waiting for someone. She tilted her head, smiling softly. Her. Then you must have a lot of sunsets stored up. Me. Just one that matters. We didn't need big speeches. The silence between us said enough. Two people, once separated by miles, now standing on the same old wooden boards, watching the sky perform its daily apology again. She reached out, her fingers finding mine exactly as before. Warm. Steady. Real. For a long time, neither of us spoke. The waves crashed below. The horizon blushed gold. and the town lights flickered to life behind us. Her. Do you think love changes when people do? Me, maybe. But if it's real, it learns to adapt, like the tide. She smiled, and the ocean looked jealous. That night, we walked home together, barefoot, laughing, stealing glances that didn't need explanations. It wasn't a grand ending or a cinematic confession. It was something quieter, truer. Two people choosing each other again, without needing a reason. When she kissed me, this time not on the cheek but right where promises live, it felt like the ocean finally exhaled. And somewhere between the tide and the stars, I understood the message the sea had been whispering all along. Love doesn't always arrive with thunder. Sometimes it comes back softly, with the sound of waves and the warmth of a familiar hand. So if you ever find yourself by the ocean, watching a sunset and thinking of someone, don't rush to take the picture. Just stand there. Feel it. Because maybe, just maybe, the ocean's trying to tell you, the story isn't over yet.